My name is Anton Vlaschenko. I'm Doctor of Science, and I would like to present for you today the story about our Bat Rehabilitation Center in Ukraine, and also how we survived this wartime, this terrible time in Ukraine. And let's start. So first, I would like to introduce a little bit myself. I was born in eastern Ukraine, in Kharkiv city, where I'm still living, and I was interested in bird watching from my last years in high school, and later in the first year of my graduation at university, I fall in love with bats. And from that time, I always studied bats and try to help them, try to provide some conservation action of bats. And of course, we had a lot of bats in Kharkiv and in winter time, and it was my idea to start this rehabilitation center. And so here you can see the map of Ukraine, and this is blue dot is the Kharkiv city, and this is the Kharkiv region. It's the same, like, I don't know how it's in English, like Yorkshire or some other shire, but you understand, it's some kind of division. And it's a relatively huge area. This red line, it's like 400 kilometers. In general, Ukraine is a huge country. And for example, the Kharkiv region is similar, a little bit smaller than Netherlands. And so you can see that it's located on the border between like steppe area, prairie, and forest steppe area. And also, according to current situation, we have a huge problem because we are very close to the border with Russian Federation. So, very short story about Kharkiv city. It was founded in 1644, and it was a fort on the frontier. From one hand, it was south frontier of Russian kingdom, but in another part, it was like eastern frontier of Cossack state, Ukrainian Cossack state. And it's second bigger city in Ukraine, and now it was near 1.5 million, but now after this war, near like 500,000 people live, and near 1 million is still living in the city. So this is some kind of picturesque pictures, how it looked like, and we have two rivers and some green zones in the city area, and also we had like sleeping districts that was built in like late years of Soviet Union, and these multi-storage buildings are like most attractive for bats because they are building from concrete blocks, and they have a lot of like holes, crevices, and this is the main roosting sites for bats that are hibernating in Kharkiv city. So this is a picture, color picture, and even not picture, it's like satellite picture of Kharkiv region, and you can see that mostly it's aeroplanes, and we have just one big river and few forested area, but in general I would say that it looks a little bit similar to like typical forested area in Great Britain, because I never visited UK, but I'm very big fan of this TV series Time Team, and what I saw like in nature of Great Britain, it looked very, very similar. And so this is, I marked locations when we did bat monitoring, and this is 2 mines system when bat hibernated, and we did this winter count of bats. This is our Kharkiv city, and for more than 20 years we are doing some monitoring activity in the city area. and this is forested area when we did some summer research and also like farming site. And later I will show you what part of this area was occupied by Russians, unfortunately. Okay, so again, that we have plenty of wild landscapes, and you can stay and see like up to horizon forests, some marshes, and some kind of wild nature. And of course, I invite you to visit once Eastern Ukraine. Of course, we have huge problem now with mining and with some still a lot of ammunition from Russians, and they did a lot of bad things on that areas that were under their occupation. But a half of our region was free from Russians, and it's like will be free for visiting without any dangers from mines. So this is bat species list of Kharkiv region. Actually, we have 14 species, and I think it's also very similar to that list that you have in UK, except maybe you have like bigger number of Meotis species, and we have Nyctalus lasiopterus here, also Pipistrellus culi. It's some kind of like special guest in our fauna from east, and the species first was found in Kharkiv in 2000, and after that, like for 22 years, it's already common species. And also once we found Tadarida teniotis, and it was great surprise in Kharkiv in some private apartment. And actually, this individual still lives with us in our Bat Rehabilitation Center. Actually, we don't know how this individual appeared in Kharkiv, and maybe it was transported with some cargo. We don't know. So before this, like first part of my presentation, it's what we did before the war, before the full-scale war, because actually the war in Ukraine with Russia started in 2014, and now we are called like full-scale war. So since 1999, we started to help bats in Kharkiv city and try to keep them in our private refrigerators, in our private flats. We found bats during winter, and we have to do something with this, because it's impossible to release them immediately in the nature, because you see some pictures how winter in Ukraine looks like. It's not like every winter. We also have like middle and warm winters with some warm periods like +5, +2. And but actually it's impossible for insectivorous animal to survive in such winter conditions. And it was our first challenge that we have to keep these bats during all winter, before spring, before end of March, in our apartments. And this is a picture of my balcony door, and I use it for like a hibernation place for bats. And we try to find some partners or organizations to grow up our initiative to some organization. And later, since 2013, we started collaboration with Feldman Eco Park. It's private zoo of Mr. Feldman. He's a local, I would say he's local oligarch, and he is keeping private zoo and also supported some projects, mainly targeted some animal cares, and also some activities, protection of children, and something like this. So since that years, we got office in the city area, and you can see we have the line of refrigerators that we used for this artificial hibernation, and bats hibernate usually in textile bags. We marked the number of individuals in these bags, the day when we put these bats for hibernation, and also the body condition, like body mass of different species, and like on duty persons in the office, they are like monitoring and checking these bats each month or each like maybe month and a half. In this eco park area, it was built the special aviary. We call it Bat Collider. It's a huge round aviary for bats, and they can easily fly in circle. And it located in the northern margin of the city, and unfortunately this area was not under occupation, but it was the front line, exactly front line for several months, and it was a fighting area, and it was a great challenge for people to rescue animals, not only bats but all other animals, because like from the first day it was under heavy shelling, and several staff people were killed by Russians, and also some like scouts groups of Russian, they came to the area of Eco Park, and they also killed several people. So this is three persons who founded this Bat Rehabilitation Center, and Alena Prilutska, she is still working with me now. She is on short scholarship in Germany, and Ksenia Kravchenko, she graduated. She got her PhD degree in Germany, and now she's on postdoc in University of Lausanne. But we are still working together, like three of us try to provide our project for a better way. So we have like three main directions of our activity. It's rehabilitation and treatment of bats, it's education, and research. And we combine together like these three activities, because usually in Europe people divided these activities, like bat group mostly work in like some monitoring program and education. In universities people working on some research project, and this rehabilitation and treatment also mostly responsibility for some rehabilitation center, but we are trying to keep it like all these three activities together. And so how it worked before the war, but it's still working, that we have a call center operator of call center, and if some like person or organization found a bat or group of bats, they make a call or write in some messengers. And also each day we have on duty person who traveling through the city and collect these bats. Later they transport these bats to our office, and we are checking them, see the body mass condition and some traumas and etc., and just select them for different categories. For some of them we just water in them and put for refrigerator, and they can hibernate easy for several months. Or in other case, some bats need some special treatment. And how is our office usually look like? It's a lot of people, a lot of volunteers, a lot of some children and with mothers, families, some friends from everywhere. People loved to visit our bat rehab center and to sit and feed bats. Its main problem for us that we had like more and more bats each year, and finally for last like 3 or 5 years we had more than 2,000 bats for winter rehabilitation, and some of them had already some, I call it like temperature stress. It means that if you put together a lot of bats during winter, they rewarm and lost a lot of their fat storage, and we have to spend several days or even like 1 week to feed them and to recover their body mass. And finally, it means that one day we can have like 100 or even 300 bats on daily feeding. And usually for last 5 years, we spent more than 100 kilos of super mealworms larvae. And it's huge amount. We are call it like bat farm. Joking. We're just sitting and all winter just feeding bats. And actually, the end of this winter activity, it's bat release test. And I will present you this action on special slide. So usually it attracts a lot of, it's public action in Feldman Eco Park area, and it attracts a lot of people and journalists. And this is we're releasing bats together with Mr. Feldman. And you see, because he is owner of all this, he can use bare hands. That usually is not allowed. But we also sometimes got a lot of bats from other cities, and we try to release these bats in that cities when they were found. And since 2017, we did this bat release fest in other cities. And it's also attract a lot of local journalists, a lot of local people, and it's wonderful action, especially for children, because from this like 5 or 7 years, you are carrying a bat on your hand, and you just can see it from very short distance. And after that, you will never hurt these animals. And already several thousands of people move through this bat release fest. So, but our research activity also focus on collection and carefully storaging of data that we got, and we try to record all information about each individual. And you can see the statistics of bats that were delivered or found in the Kharkiv city for each year. And actually, it's already more than 20,000 bats. So this is a picture, not picture, this is a video. I will switch on it now. So it's a story about our corresponding records of bats. It means that it's not that bats that we got directly to our office, but it's information that some people send some pictures, some information that, oh, I found bats, help me, and etc., etc. And this is multi-year dynamic from different countries. Since 2013, it's covers like most of Russian-speaking countries, and also people who are speaks Russian from other regions. They send to us information about some records, and you can see we also had some bat records from United States and even from UK, but mostly it's from Ukraine and Russia. Sorry. Okay. So we're also collecting data about bat phenology, especially in Kharkiv city, like example of bat phenology in urban area. And this graph, you can see the dynamic of bat records in Kharkiv from January 2013 till December 31, 2013. It's like 1 year. An example when we did like deep analysis of this story, and the upper line, it's temperature, it's different seasons of year, not like according to months, but according to temperature dynamic. And this red columns, it's a number of bats that was found per each day. And you can see that mostly Kharkiv city used by bats as a hibernation area, or as a swarming or like stopover location during autumn migration. And this autumn migration usually started from like first days of August and finished in the mid of September. And this is not just case of 1 year. It's it repeats year by year. So it's also example how we managed to analyze some our data. It's a paper about records, winter records of Pipistrellus culia. As I mentioned, it's a new species in our area. It came like only 20 years ago. And finally, we managed to put together all records that we did between 2011 to 2018. And you can see that in some cases, we had groups, wintering groups, more than 200 individuals, and the maximum number, it was more than 600. And all of them were transported to our Bat Rehab Center. Unfortunately, not all of them will successfully survive. It's very like tiny species for rehabilitation, and in some cases they stop eating, and that's all. And you don't have any chance to return them to life. They started to be more weaker, and finally die. But we try to do our best to like rescue as much as possible. So if you have some questions about part 1.
I don't see any questions in the chat. Did anyone have any questions they wanted to ask so far? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask if you like as well. Phil is asking, so there's no common pipistrelles in Ukraine?
Yeah, we don't have. It's like big mystery. Maybe we have somewhere in the south of Crimea and in extremely western area of Ukraine, but central Ukraine and like most eastern, of course, northern Ukraine, it's only Pipistrellus pygmaeus.
Great. I think that's all the questions for now.
That's all?
Yep, looks like
it.
Okay.
Okay. So moving further, and so the part 2, it's like full-scale war. So my day like started from this huge explosions all around. We saw this fire, and it was first idea. It really happened. Yeah, but it happened, and so I put together all my documents and also some like first needed stuff, and I had like full dinner, maybe like a lot of food. I put it in my stomach because it was very difficult to predict what happened next. But our first responsibility, it was our beds in our office, and we had for that moment more than 2,000 individuals in these refrigerators, and we have to do something with this. And it's my picture from the early morning, and this subway still working in that moment. So, and I just traveled to the office and started to deal with these beds with like few people from my team. So, and for that moment, we had like 2,500 beds in city in the office, and we also, like maybe 3 weeks before, transported 1,000 beds to this bed collider, to Eco Park area, and they hibernated in the cages, in some bed boxes, just in this wooden house, and it was a problem. Yeah, also we carried like 100 beds on all life rehabilitation, and we had a lot of carcasses of these dead beds, collections, and yeah. But I would say that before this full-scale war, we several times had some meetings in our team, and we agreed what should we do in case of the full-scale invasion. And we had some kind of priorities. What should we take first? What should we leave in the office? For example, we decided that we don't need any like equipment like bed detectors or some microscopes or etc., because you can always can buy new one, but specimens from collection and alive beds, it was our main priority. And first, when I returned back to office from the day one, so we constructed this cage and transported all collections and beds for all flight on all flight rehabilitation to home, at home. So the second day was we decided that like 4 of us stay in my apartment, and we lived together until August. And during March, we managed to release beds and tried to tried to visit the Seka Park area, and we managed to rescue beds from there. And this is a picture when we put all these beds to this huge cage and transported it in some mini bus to Kharkiv, and later then they were released also. So during April, we transport our main important collections out of the city, and we started to sort our bed carcasses and to prepare from these frozen carcasses some collections that could be storage in without electricity, like skull, tissue samples in ethanol, and fur samples, dry fur samples. So we are working for data analysis, and until August, and August, October, it was crazy bat invasion in the city. I will show you later. And now we have already November, December. It's like new cycle of bat winter rehabilitation started. And here you can see in this picture our office, because we slept in the office for like 3 months. Public transport was stopped, and we traveled on foot from home to office. It was 1 hour in one way, and it was I always like forgot this term when it's forbidden for civilians to be on the street after some time.
A curfew.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and it was impossible to return back, and we like traveled to the office and sleep 1 or 2 nights there and return back, and we changing between some people in our team. And so it's some picture from the first day. So I constructed this like self-releasing cage. I put 2 like concrete bed boxes in this cage, and this is a picture of this textile bags with beds, and we simply put them in this bag, and they fly, not all of them, but most of them like fly away that evening. And it was very good luck for us, because it was also like short period of very warm weather. It was plus maybe 3, plus 5. It was enough for these beds to evacuate from this rehabilitation center. But later we returned back, and this like temperature dropped, and we carried maybe like 200 bats also for some several weeks later, because not of all of them decided to live at that night. But we did this and we were very, very satisfied, because it was a nightmare to imagine that just like blackout and all of these bats just simply died in these bags and refrigerators. But it's important to say that we spent all day and all night in the office when we did this, and we saw already the fire from burning Russian tanks on the margin of the city. We also heard a lot of gunfire and even machine gun fire, and it means that some fighting already happened in the margin of the city, and it was completely unpredictable what next. And also it's the day of big fire, because our office located in the center of a huge street market, and it was shelled by Russians, and huge fire started, and maybe 7 hectares of this area were burned during that night, and we decided to stay inside of our house, of our office building, because we didn't know what happened next, and we also expected maybe some blackout, and we expected that maybe in one case we have to evacuate immediately our staff from the office. But it our great luck that the wind was to another direction, and the fire moved also to another direction from our building, and our office is still okay. However, it was some shelling close to the building, and some windows were broken, but mostly the building is still okay. So this is some kind how Kharkiv it looked like, how this countryside area it looked like. It's all holes from Russian shellings, and it's some buildings in this northern districts of Kharkiv. Yeah, as I mentioned, these buildings were constructed in the end of Soviet era, and that's exactly the main hibernation roosting sites for nocturnes in our city. And you can imagine that the number of bats that hibernate somewhere between these blocks, it could be like 100 or 1,000 or like 4,000 of nocturnes, and of course a lot of them sure were also like killed during this shelling, but unfortunately the districts wasn't it wasn't possible to reach this district during like March, and we decided not to risk it and not to try to find some evidence of killings of bats. So the next challenge that also happened with our team, it was this bioweapon claiming from Russians. In one moment, they say that they discovered some group of people who are working with bats, who are working with birds, who are delivering some bat parasites to Germany, and the story was very dangerous for us, because they hacked a mail of one of our collaborators in Ukraine, and they find some documents about our collaborative project with Germans, and we collected bat parasites and sent them to the Germany for analysis for some bacterial agents, and Russians presented it like some kind of biological weapon development program, and that these bat parasites were for infecting Russian soldiers, and it was crazy and completely like full claimings. But it was dangerous because if they really occupied Kharkiv, it means that we possibly would be captured and tortured, and because they're, I sure that they were searching and looking for us in the case of occupation of the city. But okay, it was again like huge luck for us that it didn't happen, and Kharkiv was all the time under Ukrainian control. And finally, we published this paper with all these results in high-ranked journal, and this is like visual abstract of about this story. Nothing like dangerous agents weren't found, and this is these tubes with bat parasites, and in this Russian claims they mentioned that it was like 140 containers with bat parasites, and by maybe they decided that it's like this is like ship cargo containers with bat parasites, but indeed it was this microtubes with ethanol with one tiny bat parasite in each of them. So this is the map of occupation of Kharkiv, not Kharkiv, like most of Ukraine, and you can see how it happened. They moved like a little bit eastern than Kharkiv, and they went deep inside of Ukrainian territory, and finally its maximum area of their occupation, and a half of Kharkiv region was under Russians. And now the situation is completely different. Maybe you heard about this like first great push of Ukrainian army, and was all the area of Kharkiv region was liberated, and but we still don't know about our like bat monitoring place. And for example, this forested area, it was far from Russian occupied area, but for example, our mines, when we did bat monitoring for 20 years, they were exactly under Russian occupation for a lot of time, and the area of this settlement, it hugely mined, and a lot of people already died, like civilians and also military, who tried to put out all these mines and ammunitions. And unfortunately, we know nothing about is it possible to reach there, and what is the situation. And it means that like we lost access to our population of bats. We also rearing a lot of bats there, and we are like monitoring their life expectancy and etc. And it's a problem. I hope that these mines are not damaged by some shellings or explosion, but for now it's not possible to reach. So, and we decided not to euthanize all these all-life rehabilitated bats, and females gave births, and we carried these bats at home. Finally, not all of them survived, but most of them were successfully released to the nature, even in this conditions of war. We keeping them at home. We divided these all life rehabilitated bats by different persons, and finally they are still living. Not living, they are just hibernating in some balcony in my flat. They are completely okay. They are fatty. They are living in some bed boxes, and I hope they will survive successfully till the next spring. So we did some education activity, and we tried to continue some research activity. Alona Prilutskaya, she moved with her family to the western part of Ukraine, And because Ukraine is a huge country, as I mentioned, it wasn't forbidden to continue education and research activity in that western areas of Ukraine, and we continue doing it. And but at the same time in Kharkiv, we had this huge war bat invasion, because a lot of windows, a lot of flats, a lot of windows were actually broken, and a lot of flats were actually abandoned, and some people even put out these nets, like mosquito protected nets. I don't know, do you have this in UK or not, but usually because of this explosions and blast waves, these nets or were taken down, or people simply put it inside of the flat, and it means that windows were opened and a lot of bats simply trapped to these abandoned flats. Let's see this short video about this. So, and it was video only about one case. So why it happened, for example, is this one, the central building in our city. It's building of this main university, Karazin Kharkiv National University, and how it looked before and how it looked now. And you can see that like most of these windows actually broken, and the administration tried to put some wooden protection from all these broken windows, but it was possible to do it for all of these windows. And bats usually use this building for hibernation, and we know that like thousands of nocturnes hibernate in this building each year. So it's another video how it looked like. They trapped simply in these windows. Yes, that's all. So, and when we did some like first calculation, we counted that these war cases, we call these war cases, and these cases of like broken windows or abandoned flats because of the war, like people just simply leave, and some neighbors or some other people just came and understands it like full of the flat of bats, and the total number of bats that were collected like in war cases is like near 3,000, and only 700, like 800 without. And you see also the statistics, and also the most of bats died like because of this war cases. And it was really difficult because we collected like one group and in the morning and we transported to the office. We started to like sorting these beds, also checking the body mass to see in what conditions, and also we are trying to not save, like preserve all these bed carcasses. And the next day, and we had like new group, and we spent all this night in the office, and it's a good chance that we had possibility to go outside in this office area, because it's like some kind of security area, and it was possible for us to just simply went outside in the night and released these bats back. And we did it like several days. Okay, we have some question in chat.
Someone, Emma's just saying, wow, that was to the video of all the bats that were rescued out of that abandoned building. I think that was my response as well. So yeah, it's quite incredible. Did anyone else have any questions that they wanted to ask at the moment? No. No, I think we're all right at the moment. So I think we can probably continue if you like.
Continue. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next picture, it's also the like first step of our analysis of this war invasion, not Russian, like bat invasion. And you can see like this more reddish, it's more damaged districts of Kharkiv. It's like more greenish, it's like less damaged. And you see correspondingly this like war cases, it's red dots, and not war cases, it's like usual trapped story that happened every year in Kharkiv. And you see this like huge number of war cases, and also the proportion of this. And this is a picture of broken window. It is just simply broken window, and it's like entrance, like gates for bats. And they came inside of this building, and we collected more than 400 individuals. And you can see this, our harvest, I would say, that we collected all these bats, and we also spent several hours there and put them in this textile bags and transported to the office. We like found some like special taxi driver who agreed to transport us with all of these beds, and we always call him, and he helped us to transport these beds. Yeah, but usually the situation in the city was okay. And I mean that like taxi worked and still working, and people live, and also like public transport is moving. It started moving after maybe June, and it's still free for everybody. You can it's some kind of like I would not like good side of war, but some kind of a little bit compensation. Yeah, that you can travel through the city for free. So it's another story that we noted that in some cases we saw a huge amount of night mosses. And it's a picture because first I have to mention that the street light was completely forbidden from the first day of the war. Also, like for maybe 1 month, it was forbidden to even use like your home light. But later, now it's okay. But we don't have street light at all. And you can see this map of Ukraine and just a few cities. And it's funny because this like lighted area, it's area already occupied by pro-Russian separatists. It's this like pseudo republic, Donetsk and Lugansk. They had street light, but like the most part of Ukraine doesn't. And we think that for this summer without street light, we like noted huge increasing of night insects. And usually I'm very skeptical about this light pollution, but this August I was very surprised because they were everywhere, and like each a little bit lighted window, it was full of these mosses. And it looks like this like light pollution, it's a real huge impact for wild nature, and especially for insects. So, and this is like part 4. ending message. And after like 9 months of living and working in the front line, first, never give up as usual, and second, that we are responsible for animals that we are caring, and it was our first idea, especially when we traveled to this eco park area. It was really dangerous journey, I would say, especially when we returned back. We moved through the districts under artillery shells, and it was like burning houses, burning cars, just in on our way. But we anyway like transported these pets from eco park to the city. But it was one of the like most dangerous day in our like spring activity in Kharkiv. So also that a lot of people from army were interested in bats. I mean, in Ukrainian army, I mean, they tried to help them. And for example, this is story how some soldiers just simply rescued nocturnal bat from some net. And also some people found in some shelters also hibernated bats, and all of these people sent to us picture information and etc. And so it's some kind of bat art. We did this pictures. Our illustrator painted this, and these two of them, it's like warrior bats, and bats painted in the style of Ukrainian Cossacks. And this picture was presented to our team from I don't remember, from German or from Danish painter, and it's some kind of illustration of our activity, bats in the refrigerator, and also this slogan in Cyrillic. I think you know the translation. It's like Putin is okay, because you are recording. I would not say it in Russian. And so why we decided to stay? Because it's some kind of contribution of our resistance to this to Russians. Because we decided that we are not simply run away from our city, from our responsibility, and we will stay as much as possible, and we still here and try to help bats. And we are very proud of our activity. Of course, it was some kind of dangerous, some kind of scary, but anyway, we decided to act like this, and finally we satisfied that we all see this story about bats in city damaged by war from inside. So sure that the war is negatively impacted bats. As I mentioned, that some buildings were destroyed together with these hibernation colonies. And during autumn migration, a lot of bats were trapped. And we sure that we find maybe like 10% of the real number of trapped bats. And it's only story about one city, Kharkiv, that it was under Ukrainian control, and the proportion of damaged building is like maybe few percents of all buildings in the city. But we really don't know what happened in more damaged city or cities that completely destroyed, is Mariupol or Lysychansk or Severodonetsk. So, and as I mentioned, that finally we don't know about our like monitoring locations, and but hope that it will possible to visit it later. So we have some questions.
We have a few comments just about how incredible it is that you're managing to do all this work during these dangerous times, and it's just, yeah, completely inspiring. There's a couple of comments And one question, which I think you might be getting to in a moment. There's only one question really. How can we help?
Okay. Yeah, I will show you later a little bit.
Yeah.
It's in the end of my presentation. Yeah. Okay. Let's move further. And so anyway, we managed to finalize several papers. And for example, some of them, it's about trace metals in two populations of Pipistrellus culi, and one of this population was from Mariupol city, and you can see this picture of Mariupol city today. It's completely destroyed, and of course it's a huge human tragedy first, but in second it also touched a lot of wildlife there. And the other paper, it's about bat assemblages in forests in Kharkiv region, and you can see that some of these points, when we did our research and they were under occupation, and it means that it's impossible to visit this forested area. I don't know for what time, because it was still dangerous in some areas in Kharkiv region. From my childhood, I remember that it's dangerous because we had a lot of ammunition from Second World War, and it was already like 50, 60, 70 years ago, and this ammunition we found everywhere, like these mines, grenades, and like huge artillery ammunition, and it's very difficult for me to imagine how long time do we need to recover our areas from this like new war. Because I remember when we just simply found with my family, we moved on a car. I was like little boy, and it was like anti-tank mine from Second World War, and it was found somewhere close to countryside road, and it was just simply like marked some stick with red tissue, and we just simply stopped, and all our family just watched this mine and say, oh, okay, maybe it's too dangerous, let's go further. But it was already like mid of 19th, and it's a huge problem. What we will have next? I mean that even after Second World War we had a lot, but it's difficult to imagine what we will have next. So, and also we, as I mentioned, we continue working on some data set. It's a picture when we stayed together in my apartment, and it was forbidden to use light in flats, and we worked like only using light of computer screens, and actually we managed to analyze this data set because also this situation with war, it's actualized the question of saving data and preserving data and publishing data, because for example we simply could lose everything, like our computers, our data sets, our like paper archives, or etc. And it was our huge motivation to finish as quickly as possible this data set. And finally we downloaded to GBIF, this global biological information facilities, and its story about 20,000 individuals of bats that we collected during all this time. This is visualization of our records through all of Ukraine, mostly from Kharkiv, and its proportion of like human observation. It's that we call correspondence records. It means that when people like send information about a bat, some pictures or etc., and the other part is like real records, that bats that were delivered to our rehabilitation center. So yeah, this is where you can find it if you're interested in it. And so these acknowledgements, and we got a lot of support from all around the world from the first day of invasion. And we want to say great thanks first of our patrons on Patreon platform, and also all of this organization supported us in different way. Some provided some scholarship, another some state at university, because for me as a man it's forbidden to cross the border, but our girl part of our team, they traveled abroad, they spent like 2 months in Europe, and yeah, and we would say like great thanks to all people who supported us during that time, because we completely lost any sources of financial support from Ukraine, because all of these activities that were mostly damaged, like Eco Park area, the street market, the owner of these activities is Mr. Feldman, and it means like his business was significantly damaged, and also Eco Park is completely like destroyed. Fortunately, our this Voliere Bat Collider aviary is still like standing, but for civilians it's forbidden to visit this area. We are still waiting for this like military person who did this reminding. Okay, just clean this area from some ammunition or mines. So, and this is our contact, and like how you can support. And of course we have this Patreon page, but also we have this PayPal account. You can simply send some little money for support our project. And also we had this like special account in Germany that was created exactly for supporting our project. And this is our pages, like Facebook, Instagram, like more active. We are keeping like Facebook page and Instagram, and but also we have website, and that's all. But my special ask is about helping us about proofreading our scientific manuscript, because English is always a challenging task for people from the East, Slavic people, and maybe if some of you are familiar with academic writing, or like just simply can help us to check our English in some manuscript, please contact me in my mail. I hope it will not take a lot of time, because we are not too productive. Maybe it's like one manuscript per several months, and but anyway, we stopped published any papers in Russian, of course, and also in Ukraine, because we try to present our results on international level in English as much as possible. But anyway, we still have like simple English, and I'm sure that you can recognize a lot of mistake in my talk. Sorry for that, but we try to improve. Okay, your questions, please.